panic meter that's rising, and therefore the Warriors need to do something to try and they're almost at breaking point, if not at breaking point right now. The season is slipping away incredibly quickly. And so now we're getting these reports of different trade speculation. And the biggest one, I suppose, in the last 24 hours was Mark Stein on the This League Uncut podcast reported that the Warriors are open to trading Andrew Wiggins. Firstly, I want to give credit to Steve because I've been critical at times. I want to give credit to Steve for trying out the Wiggins-Kuminga combination in the starting lineup. And it backfired spectacularly. It did. But a lot of us, including myself, had been clamoring to see those two play together more. And Steve's been proven right. And this is why he's the head coach overall. Now, that's not going to stop me from being critical at times of him in the future. But there's a large enough sample size now. I think there's 146 minutes together where those two have played together this season. And they have a minus 20.6 net rating together. That's, I think, enough of a sample size now to suggest that, okay, maybe this won't work. The last thing that I would probably try is, we saw in that starting lineup, the lack of a secondary ball handler and playmaker outside Steph was glaring. And that's why, obviously, in the few games before his injury, Chris Paul had been starting rather than bringing Wiggins back in, and then before that, Pods was starting as well. But I suppose I might try and see what I could get out of a Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond lineup. Just see how that would fare. Because obviously you get the playmaking, the ball handling out of Draymond, and you get a bit more veteran steadiness out of Draymond than you do with Trace Jackson-Davis. So that's probably the last thing that I would try. Otherwise, I'm happy for him to shelve the Wiggins-Kuminga combination, I guess. But the issue with that is, if you're saying, well, those two just simply cannot play together, then all of a sudden you are limited to, like, what are you doing? Are you playing, just splitting their minutes and saying, okay, you can play 24 minutes each? Because I don't think that's very viable. So what you end up happening is, what we've seen in the last few games here, is that Steve will roll with whoever's playing well, which has usually been Kuminga. But obviously in that Denver game, we saw him go with Wiggs, where one of them plays 30 and the other one plays like 18. And that's just the simple fact of it. I was watching that Toronto game, and I was thinking to myself, Wiggins might be at a point here where he's that bad. He might actually, just removing him from the team, just trading him, might simply be an addition by subtraction, regardless of what you get in return. And if you just traded Wiggins, again, regardless of what you got back, and we'll get into that in a second, but if you just removed him from the team, even if you just removed him from the rotation altogether right now, then at least that gives you some clarity to say, okay, JK, you're playing guaranteed 25 plus minutes every game. Even when Draymond returns, which will clog the front court up some more, both in terms of minutes and also on the floor, the way they play. And I suppose there's question marks with how JK and Draymond will fit. And I think Steve's got question marks on that as well, based on what he said in the post-game after that Raptors loss. But if you can just guarantee JK 25 plus minutes, even when Draymond returns, then at least there's some clarity there about, okay, these minutes are going to him. This is what our rotation, this is what lineups are going to look like. And you roll with that, rather than JK and Wiggins, who JK went to Steve and said, I don't want to be fighting for minutes with Wiggs. I think we can play together. Well, as I said, I think Steve's been proven correct that no, it's not effective when you do. And therefore, those two, one playing 30 minutes one night, the other playing 18, and then, switching the next game and flipping the minutes there. And it's a nightmare. It's a real nightmare right now. And so I do think, watching that game, I do wonder whether or not just removing Wiggins entirely might actually be addition by subtraction. And you might get more out of JK.